I am so excited for today's conversation. Why? Because we have a special guest. And I know our guest, Jessica, she brings not just a brand, but a mission. So please, Jessica, introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Jess. I'm so excited to be here. I'm the founder and CEO of Bundle and Joy, based here in Phoenix, Arizona.
So we met Jessica, I want to say it was a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it's been a blur.
Yeah,
Where has 2025 gone already?
Already. And then we caught a Suns game and got to just kind of relax and enjoy the night. And then now here we are. We have a podcast, Culture and Commerce. So, and we have Bundle and Joy with Jessica. So we're going to be asking her some questions about her journey and how did she end up here creating this brand, Bundle and Joy. So I like to start though with an interesting question. We always ask this to our founders that we work with at Inflect Digital. And that question is, if Bundle and Joy was a moment, what would it be?
Wow.
Something to think about.
Yes, I love it. And now I know why you didn't tell me in advance. Yes, yes. I think if it was a moment, it would be a deep breath. And I'm sure I have to unpack that one.
I like that. I love that. Wow. You know, I was thinking something like, you know, a hike with the dog, and she goes, deep breath. So that's interesting.
So different.
That's awesome. I guess, what would you say that sentiment is?
Yeah.
What's that emotion?
I think that there's so much guilt as a pet owner. I'm a human mom as well as a dog mom, right? And there's, over the last, I think, probably 5 years especially, there's just been so much guilt that's sort of accumulated where I feel like, you know, I'm not doing all the right things. I mean, you spend 5 minutes on social media and someone's going to tell you you're killing your dog, or you're not feeding the right food, or you're not doing all these things. And I really thought that there was an opportunity to create a pet food brand that allowed you to take a deep breath, and that allowed you to say, hey, I'm a dog mom. I'm doing the best that I can. At the end of the day, it's actually really all about the joy and the time that we have together. And just alleviate some of that pressure.
Yes.
The financial pressure of sort of these expectations of like, oh, you got to spend all this money. The pressure of, hey, you have to cook every meal for your dog. Yeah, I just thought, hey, it doesn't have to be so complicated. It doesn't have to be so guilt-ridden. And hey, why can't it be joyful too? Yeah.
Hence, Bundle and Joy.
Yeah.
Awesome. We appreciate that.
That's very interesting because I know like a thought that came to my mind was sunrise, but I do think it resonates with that same thought process, that aha moment, that deep breath. It's like that sense of, oh, it's happened. You know, this is the case.
Yeah, and I think we're so different. Like we are a breath of fresh air too.
Right,
I think,
100%.
for a lot of people that are like, oh, this is totally different than, you know, the way that I've thought about pet food or the way that I've thought about a pet company. We are doing things so different from our packaging to our give back that I sometimes feel like it's just refreshing and different.
Yeah, and it made me think too, like, because even for individuals who may not be a pet owner, right? Or you may think of individuals, adults who are not parents in the human sense there. So maybe they can't relate, like if you have a child or a daughter, or so when you think about that guilt or that shame, maybe that person who's not a pet owner don't understand those feelings or how that could be. And I think too, like when you think about the guilt or so forth, it could be coming from people who don't even have a pet, and so they don't understand. So can you speak to that a little bit, perhaps, in terms of like, have you seen that be an aspect of, or it come from that angle?
I think so. I mean, even my dad yesterday was like, oh, I keep hearing all of this about, you know, itching and scratching and licking and my dog. And I'm just like, you've been on social media so much this week. But I think that yes, like guilt is a component of the brand. It's definitely not everything. You know, I think that's what's interesting about Bundle and Joy is we're a more complex brand, right? So we might meet somebody who is a brand new pet owner who has no idea what to do. We might meet a pet owner when they're in a state of crisis because their pet is having all these health and allergy issues and they're not sure what to do. We might meet a pet owner in a moment of, hey, I want to enjoy more moments of joy with my dog, and and they're focused on that. I think just like our retail strategy and our e-commerce strategy that we'll talk about today, I've always wanted to just meet the consumer where they are, where they are emotionally, where they are in their pet journey, and also where they're shopping. Like just meeting them where they are, and that who they are and how they are a pet owner is okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I know Anuroop has some questions he want to dig into. I guess the last thing I'll ask at this moment is, can you tell us more about your audience? You mentioned meeting them where they are.
Sure.
So maybe emphasize or highlight for us what your community, what it looks like.
So I've spent the last 18 years in the pet industry, and it's been an amazing journey. What has always stuck out to me is that, you know, women buy over 80% of the pet products today, but largely the pet companies are all ran by men. And that's okay. But I, through my journey, continue to kind of feel like those leaders didn't entirely understand the pet owner. They didn't understand me as a pet owner. I didn't feel a connection. And so, you know, I think for me specifically, I wanted to make sure that, you know, whatever I did, it was reaching them again where they are. But I had to spend some time to say, who is that pet owner that feels like they're being overlooked?
Yeah.
And so digging into a lot of that data, we found quickly that obviously younger people delaying having their own human children and having pets was definitely a statistic and a trend. Through, you know, the pandemic, we saw a lot of people get pets that didn't have pets, spend a lot more time with them, just, you know, even commit that they were going to add multiple pets to their household. And then the third piece I think also was interesting is that minority pet ownership has really evolved and changed the landscape. So for the first time, diverse pet owners outweigh non-diverse pet owners. And I really didn't feel like companies were really acknowledging that the pet owner looks different today than they did 10 years ago. And so I think identifying some of those gaps and those people we felt like weren't being served.
Thank you for giving us some insights in that area. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and I would say that is the reason why we wanted Jessica so badly on this podcast, is because when we talk about the two pillars of culture and commerce, right, it is tying into both those sides. So you mentioned the commercial aspects, right? You have these companies that have been around, they've been producing their pet foods and, you know, putting out quality products and so forth. But what they're missing is that cultural alignment with the current consumer, or where, like what is like in hockey we say, right? Like skate to where the puck is going, right? That they're missing that critical piece out. And so I want to dig a little bit more into that experience that you mentioned, that 18 years that you were in the industry and so forth. You mentioned looking into the data. You mentioned was there any particular moment? Was there any particular instance where maybe there was a comment you saw, maybe it was a conversation you had, something of that nature where I was like, no, I really need to go ahead and build this or go there?
Yeah, I mean, my answer might actually be different than what you expect. When I first started to share my idea and sort of my vision for the brand with other pet food company founders, CEOs, they told me it was a really bad idea, actually, which is like kind of crazy to think of now. I actually remember a very distinct moment where I actually cried because I thought, gosh, like, how am I so wrong? How am I so off? Because I was asking these people in the industry that I looked up to and I really respected and thought, oh, they have it all figured out. Like, they're running successful pet food companies. And so I actually sat in that for a little while, and I actually had to sort of follow my intuition more than probably even the data showed, because there really wasn't data to show that it would work because no one really had done it this way. And I would say I had to follow my intuition more to say, hey, like, the data is there. Why? Women buy 80% of the products. the landscape of the pet owners changing. We know these things are happening. There's really not data to support it yet because it's coming, and I'm going to trust my gut, no pun intended, on what I thought was missing. Yeah.
Let me ask you about this. You mentioned some very interesting insights that you had seen, right, with the market, and saw that these were the opportunities. When Lionell and myself started Inflect Digital, right, the first month that we went full-time, like we were full-time all in on it, we did no selling. We basically locked ourselves inside of a room and really defined, okay, everybody's going to think that we're just a marketing company, or we're just do digital ads and so forth. What is going to make Inflect Digital different? And what is just from the day one, what's going to be different about our mentality and how we approach that, right? And a lot of it was coming from some of the things that we were seeing, being able to speak directly to entrepreneurs and marketers, what their challenges were, frustrations were. So you mentioned some very interesting insights about the market that you had seen. I absolutely love that aspect you mentioned about the intuition, trusting your own gut. I think that's what makes entrepreneurs, right?
Sure.
Is that ability to have that vision and that insight. Was there anything in particular when you thought that, okay, now that I'm starting this company, from day one, these are the 3 things I'm going to do differently than what I'm seeing, because this is what's going to help me establish myself into these opportunities that I'm seeing?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a crowded landscape. The pet category and the pet industry is a $1.5 billion industry, which is insane to say. So I knew right away, like, I couldn't go do what everybody else was doing, because that I wouldn't win, right? And so, yes, to your point, I had to identify some very specific things that I was going to do differently and sort of decide that from the beginning. The first thing I would say is probably our visual identity is so different. I knew that we needed to disrupt visually on shelves. And I went a very far female-forward approach with that, with pink bags and yellow bags and purple bags. Again, that's a couple of places where people were like, what are you doing? Nobody wants to buy a purple bag of dog food. I was like, well, it's my favorite color, so we just got to make this happen. Now, that's not why. I just knew that what I was seeing in the beauty and wellness space was beautiful and very disruptive. And I hadn't seen that yet in the pet space. So that was the first thing. I think our visual identity, I knew, had to be totally different. I think the second thing was community first. We decided really early on that we were going to build a community even before we launched our product. So we were building an online social community, a community here in Arizona, long before I ever even shipped a product, which felt kind of weird in the moment, because it was like, oh, we're doing all this work, but I can't sell you anything. But I'm glad we did that now, because it created this highly, highly engaged, authentic community. And I think the third thing we did was really set the foundation for our give back. So early stages, I was like, I got to launch money or raise money, and I have no idea how to do it. And that was a huge step, process. I had to learn a ton. I mean, I tell a story that I was on a virtual pitch once, and somebody said something about FNFs, and I had no idea what they were talking about. They were talking about friends and family, which is a very common known thing in raising money, but I literally knew nothing. And in that process, I quickly learned that women receive less than 3% of traditional funding, less than 1% for women of color. That's when, in that moment, I said, if I'm going to be successful and I'm going to go pursue this, I want to make sure that I'm giving back. And I want to set that as a foundation for the brand now. And that's why I decided that I wanted to give 3% back of every purchase to help fund women in entrepreneurship and our local communities. And I said that from the beginning. I think a lot of companies wait too long to make a commitment to some sort of purpose-driven element of their business, and then they start getting successful, and it's like, oh, we're already down here, we don't need to do this. I said that from the beginning. And so I do feel like those are the 3 things that, as a brand, I really decided in the beginning, and I've tried to honor that throughout the journey.
Fantastic.
Yeah, very powerful. We mentioned on the onset, right, it's not just a brand, but a mission. And when you think about that give back, how would you say you see that evolving, in the next, 5, 10 years?
It's exciting already. We've started to tangibly kind of document our give back, and we've already given well over 100,000 meals to pets in need here locally. We've worked with nearly 100 small businesses in different ways of mentorship, supporting their business, selling their products. And we are not even 3 years old yet, and we're still just really growing. And so, someone asked me recently, like, what does success look like for you in 3 years or 5 years with Bundle and Joy? And I really do think about success being measured by the amount we're able to give back and the change we're able to be a part of. One of the things that we do as part of the give back is mentorship. So every year we now do a Women's History Month giveaway where they can win grants. But the big thing is mentorship. Right. So even this year alone, I did mentorship sessions with 7 different small business owners as kind of winners. I meet with them, then I meet with them again a couple months later. And then we also just brought one of our winners in for an all-day mentorship session with our team. And I just think about in those moments, like how much impact I can have in that person's journey and how we can sort of fast track them through, hey, here's what I learned, here's where I made mistakes, here's how I see your business. Because sometimes we don't see our business the same as someone coming in. I think the mentorship has been my most exciting part and the thing I'm so proud of. I could envision down the road having an even larger mentorship program in some way, shape, or form. Don't know what that looks like yet, but I'm excited to feel like we have a small part in these businesses and like one day to see these businesses be successful and be like, hey, we were this, like a tiny part of their journey. So
it's almost like you have an incubator within Bundle and Joy, so to speak.
We do.
And so that's phenomenal. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And even the success you've had with that, and also recently with the business itself launching into Costco and Walmart, that's huge milestones, right? So what did it take to get there? And talk more about that aspect.
Yes, a lot of time, a lot of patience. We worked on Costco for about 18 months before we were ever able to get the product in. Even that was like a hurry up, like a wait, and then hurry up and go. And that's how it works. With Costco specifically, we had to prove that the concept worked. So we did Costco roadshows. So if you've ever walked into a Costco and someone's selling something at a table, they're doing a roadshow. And I have a lot more respect for them now because we had to be there 4 days straight, open to close, in a single location. You're on your feet, you're talking to people. Every 2 minutes, you're asking someone if they have a dog. Can I sell you treats, And we did that all last summer. I mean, I feel like I lived at Costco.
Right.
Which isn't a horrible place to be. I had my share of samples and all my things. Love Costco. But yeah, we had to prove it first before we got the opportunity. So we're there now. We're in about 60 stores, and it's been a fun journey for sure.
Absolutely.
And great to build community, great to we got in to do the road shows. We got to meet people. We did a couple more road shows right before the pallets dropped, and people were like, oh my God, my dog loved this. Or, oh my gosh, this is now my dog's favorite. So just being able to make those connections was really cool. And to share our story there. And then with Walmart, we just launched into over 500 stores with our dog food. That was also quite a journey. I had 18 meetings with Walmart before we sealed the deal. 18 meetings. I don't think people tell the real stories sometimes. 18 meetings. And that's 18 decks, that's 18 presentations, that's just a lot of time and investment. But, that was really because we were talking to them about what the brand could do for Walmart long term. And so we're very excited about what that journey looks like. We've just started with food. The journey's just beginning. But we've really kind of said, hey, we're this very unique lifestyle brand that lives across multiple categories, food, treats, supplements, toys, merch, and help us build a larger brand story in your stores. So you'll see even more of that coming soon.
That's amazing.
Beautiful, yeah. And I think you talked earlier, Jessica talked earlier about visual identity, right? And you look at, Bundle and Joy, and it looks phenomenal. You look at your website or your Instagram and the community, and it's the aesthetics, right? It's so appealing. behind all of that is what you just mentioned, right? The hard work, the grit. What do it take to actually get there? The work that you have to put in, the time, the energy, the sacrifice. You also have a family, right? So, you know, what did that look like, you know, behind the scenes with committing to building a brand like this and what it takes to get to these next steps? And another thing is, on our last episode, we talked about proof, right? The proof is in the eating of the pudding. Well, she just shared with you what that looks like, what that tastes like, is that proof, that work that you have to put in to prove, like with the roadshow and so forth. So thank you so much for sharing those insights.
Because you could even say is that the roadshow is essentially saying that, okay, I see what you've mentioned digitally I've built and the community and the impressions. If I'm going to put you in a one-to-one situation, are you able to sell or not? Because we always talk about, you know, when we think about it from a digital perspective, we talk about that 3 seconds or less hook situation, right? Is that I have 3 seconds to get my value across and get somebody engaged enough to where they're going to now stay engaged. And, you know, that's why the targeting becomes so important. Here, what they're essentially doing is that, okay, we're going to do an ultimate test of this. We're going to put you in the store, right? So our customer, when they come to our stores, they're going to be going through the shelves. They're going to be going through the placements that are there. And your product has to captivate them, right? Despite all the brand work that you're doing, the brand awareness and the building of the brand. And they have to make a decision there. So we're going to put you in that situation where is that without all the great infrastructure you built digitally in terms of content and brand, one-to-one. And I think that's where when we talk about that aspect of, I think we had discussed this earlier, was brand being more than just what your graphics are, what your logos are, what your fonts are. You really have to be an extension. Like it has to be, which I love a lot, especially now speaking to you more about the journey and the story, is that the brand really is your values being reflected, right? And that's the reason why when you're in that situation, you're able to convey that in terms of getting that across.
Yeah, I mean, at the roadshow for sure, I was there as much as I possibly could, because whether I like it or not, me having a conversation with someone is the most impactful. You know, the goal is always, how do you translate that to your team so your team can communicate that same message so they can convert in the same way? And I think we've done a good job of that. But yeah, I mean, for roadshows, it was hard, but also easier because you could have a conversation. Where the true test is right now, where we are in pallets in the pet aisle against all these other treats, and nobody is there to convince you to pick it up. So it's been kind of like the evolution of, hey, roadshow, you can have a conversation. You are trying to sell dog treats next to, you know, milk and eggs, which is a little odd sometimes. And so there was that hurdle. And then now we're in store with a palette of products. No one's there to convince you. They have to see it and have some kind of connection or recognition or experience with that product that has them convert. Because I'm not there anymore, right, to have that conversation. So it's been successful thus far, but it's like every new step is a new hurdle. Yeah.
Thank you. No, that's the work, right? And that's also a part about what you're building in terms of the brand, in terms of the mission. Now that it's there, this placement that you have, like you say, now it has to resonate with that person, and so tapping into that connection comes about by other ways that you market through your social media accounts, etc., so that when people then see it in the store, it's like, oh, right. So, no, thank you for sharing.
And we did a mini test. I remember our first roadshow. I said, well, let me just boost one of our organic content pieces on social specific to the Costco roadshow, and let me do it within 5 miles of the Costco at a very low cost. Okay, I mean like a couple $100. And I was like, let me just see what happens. And I can't tell you how many times we were at that Costco roadshow that I'd hear people be like, oh, I saw this on Instagram. Oh, I saw this brand on Instagram. And it gave them this like impression, right? That we were this big company because they saw us on social. Meanwhile, they don't know that I was geo-targeting women 24 to 44 that lived in that zip code, you know. Obviously, I didn't know if they necessarily had a dog. But But it worked. Like, so we did that very small scale when we did the road shows to try to help create some of that brand connection so that when they came in, some of them were like, oh, I think I've seen this brand. And a lot of times I didn't even remember where they saw it, right? But it was just like another touch point, which is so important. You guys know how many touch points we need today. Yeah.
You're connecting the dots like for them. Then that's that journey there. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, we call that strategic omnipresence.
Yeah. There you go.
It's like when you have a market that's there, if you have multi-channel activation, right, happening, it's like different. Like, wow, I see this brand everywhere.
Correct.
You're seeing a bunch of like, and you have to be then intentional with the content, right?
Yes.
So social proof, testimonials, get the community activated there and so forth. And it's does a great job. So I'm really glad that you did that, number one, but you also have that, like Lionell mentioned, the proof is in the eating of the pudding, right? So
absolutely. Yeah, and it's not just one thing, right? So you said, what did it take to get Costco? It was 10 20 different things that all come together. I mean, I think that's my business every day. It's not like one particular thing. It's like something we're doing right now might be because I did something 3 months ago. So sometimes luckily we're not a super intense ROI driven organization where we have to prove everything out, because we haven't really had the luxury of doing that because we're just running and growing so fast. But I think that I sometimes look back and I'm like, oh, that's crazy. Like that happened because of that. Or I put myself in that room and then I met this person who made an introduction to this person. I always tell a story. Our first big trade show we went to, there was kind of a networking event that evening and we're all exhausted, but we're like, let's go. We meet this other team. They have a Better For You period care brand focused on Gen Z. Anyways, we met them, started talking, and she's like, oh, you should meet my advisor. He's really great. She makes an introduction to the advisor, and I build a relationship with him. And then over time, he introduces me to one of his first stage investors, who is now my largest investor.
Wow.
All because I went to a networking event at the bowling alley, put myself in an uncomfortable position. I was tired. I just had a basic conversation with someone. And who knows, I may not even be sitting here right now if I hadn't gone to that event. I mean, it sounds extreme, but you just never know.
That's amazing.
Yeah, phenomenal. Yeah, and you have to put yourself out there. I remember, it's this guy I listened to, Dan Sullivan. He has a company like Strategic Coach, and he talks a lot about that. He said, I tell people we have an open door policy. When you come into the office, everyone's doors, don't be hiding. You can put yourself out there. He said, I sit out in front so people can see me, can come up and talk to me. And so the same way we were going out and engaging or networking and accepting those invitations, not knowing, where it may lead to. Hard work is paying off. So a follow-up question, though, going back to the mission, right? If there is, what would you say is one thing about a purpose-driven brand that surprised you, whether it was good or challenging? What was that one thing about building a purpose-driven brand that surprised you?
I think I went into it initially sort of with the assumption that everyone would be on the same page as me about our mission, and that everyone would have really good intentions. So, for example, I shared how we have worked with a lot of, female-founded and diverse small businesses. And early on, we were very focused on supporting these other businesses to the point where we were buying their products, selling it on our site, doing free marketing for them. And through that process, we found a couple bad eggs along the way who were basically using us for information, never residually returning any kind of support. And, that was a little disheartening.
Yeah.
Because I thought, wow, we're trying to help you and we're not asking for anything in return, but you're actually doing harm to us. To the extent where actually one of these founders accidentally forwarded me an email from her executive team speaking negatively about me. And it was in relation to an email we had sent about the nonprofits we work with. It was just, my mind couldn't even wrap around the fact that this woman could have malicious thoughts about our give back and our purpose-driven positioning. And I had to just, it felt very personal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it felt like a very personal attack. And that was a hard moment, because it was like, wow, I'm doing these things very selflessly, but this person is coming after me in such a counter way than the community we're trying to build. And so I think what was surprising to me through this process has been, I have to understand that not everyone is going to kind of follow the same path or be aligned with our mission. They don't have the capacity or the capability, or they just don't choose to have a reciprocal situation where we all support each other and grow. They're so focused on their business that they can't even open themselves up to supporting my business as well. Or in this case, even supporting nonprofit. It was like nothing to do with them. I mean, I'm sharing, you know, some of the details, but wow, that's a really hard moment when you're like, wow, not everyone is as kind and authentic and as real as you think they are.
Yeah, it could be a tough pill to swallow, so to speak. And, you know, I've had my own share of experiences with that. And sometimes it's hard to even express, like, because like you said, I can't even wrap my mind around, I can't even come to understand what about this situation would cause you to move in a certain way. And I've had those experiences, and I don't even know what to chop it up to, so to speak. But that certainly can be disheartening, and something you have to work through and, you know, navigate. And then also keep top of mind, like, okay, let me make sure the people that I am choosing to collaborate with or partner with or work with are in line with, like Anuroop said earlier, about you reflecting your values. And so and like even for Inflect Digital, we spell this out on our website. We talk about merit, right, which is mastery, right, number one. And then, you know, we want to show that in our work, and we want the people that we work with to also reflect these same kinds of values: extreme ownership, right, relentlessness, these innovation, all these different things, transparency, are important to us, and those are the kind of people we want to work with. So thank you for sharing that.
Sometimes you don't know until you know, and then you just have to change the way that you evaluate future partnerships. You know, it's relationships; they're not perfect, and we've definitely took a step back and said, hey, let's make sure that we really vet these companies. Let's really talk about it more. Let's make sure, and if someone is not in alignment, that we quickly sort of pivot away from them. And that's what we've had to do. And it feels painful, and it feels counterintuitive, but I know it's what's best. And that's just been a surprise, because I'm kind of a serial optimist. I sort of think that everyone is, you know, has good intentions, and I've learned that's not always the case.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. To Lionell's point, we've experienced that a fair share. I think another thing to then look at is, it seems like what ends up happening is when you think about that vision or that sort of culture that's created, right, people's interpretations of that might be different. And I think that's sometimes what creates that misalignment that's there. But one thing for sure I wanted to talk about is when you think about team, right? So again, now we talked about yourself.
Sure.
The brand being a reflection, right? We talked about some instances of misalignment that may happen with certain partners and so forth, right? And how to approach that. When you think about the team that you were building, right? And the team that you build, how do you have Bundle and Joy's culture, right? How do you get them to essentially reflect that, buy into that, become a contributor, like actually contribute towards that, right? And what are those, and I'd even go ahead, like a follow-up to that, then after that would be, then what are some of those things that you are looking for that may be different than what somebody else might be looking for the team lead?
Yeah, I mean, in the last 3 years, I've made a ton of mistakes, like more mistakes than I can count, right? To be building a business, building a team, fundraising, balancing the demands of my personal life and my children and my husband and everything. I've made so many mistakes, and anyone that says they didn't is lying. They're just not sharing the truth. So yeah, I made a lot of mistakes building my team. in the beginning, and I'm going to keep making mistakes. I think the main thing is in the early days, I didn't have a lot of funding, right? So it was kind of like, how do I find someone to help? And how do I get them to help with all these things without a lot of clarity or direction? You know, in the early days, like we didn't, every day we were just trying to navigate uncharted waters. Like we really were just making it up as we went, you know? And I think I learned quickly, not everyone can live in that kind of environment. So I think one of my biggest learnings was, hey, startup life is insane. We're doing so many different things every day. Some people need to have a very clear roadmap of what they do every day, and that's just who they are. And that's okay. They serve different roles in an organization. But I quickly learned I need people that could live in the gray. And that was hard for some people. I also think that I had to find people that had just generally kind of an entrepreneurial mindset. Somebody that understands that the grit and the hustle that it takes. So the second thing was really finding people with that entrepreneurial mindset. You know, not everyone understands the importance of that grit and hustle.
Right.
And I needed people to treat the business like it was their own. And you know, maybe that was asking too much of some people. And I definitely learned that the hard way, I think. Today, fast forward, we're looking for people that understand our mission and our vision and are really aligned with the purpose. Because if they're not, it's going to make those really hard times hard to push through. People that understand the importance of our community, who understand how important our relationship and personal connections are. Who care about dogs and care about the well-being of dogs. You have to. And then I think people that can see the long-term goal, people that can like see the vision of the company and are excited about what they're going to learn through the process and are excited to see where they're going to go with the company as it grows. Those are some of the things that I'm looking for today.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's important, like getting people to align with the culture, to have that same mindset and framework. Yeah. So we have the same. I think hiring for us has been probably one of the most challenging.
Yes.
And we didn't realize, you know, when you first start a company, it's me and Anuroop, we're the founders. And, you know we're on the same page, have the same, that go-getter mentality and so forth. But then when you have to start growing, you're trying to scale, and you're hiring more people. It's not easy just to find those kind of individuals.
Yeah.
So pet ownership, parenthood in that way is changing from how we shop to how we see our pets in our lives. You mentioned a lot of this earlier about things were changing. And so how do you see that further developing over the next 2 to 3 or 5 years?
I think as humans, we're learning more about like the gut and brain connection, gut and immunity connection. I think we're so early days in understanding that for our pets. And I'm really excited. We've just kicked off a little bit of some clinical research actually to sort of help to demystify some of that for pet owners, kind of just proving out the gut health benefits, but not just, gut symptoms, but brain longevity, immunity. We have started to integrate some really exciting ingredients in our products like colostrum and collagen, things that are really kind of emerging on the human side. And so I guess over the next 3 to 5 years, I do think that there are some biohacking type things that probably can come into play for pets just like us. And I think finding a way to make that accessible, affordable, and really simplifying it for pet owners. I think gut health for pets is just so early stage. Yeah. So we're excited about some of that, being able to share some of that research in a way that, an everyday pet owner could find ways to integrate certain ingredients into their pet's daily diet. That's going to help them in the long run. So I think on the nutrition side, I think there's a lot there. Yeah. Also in even like testing. Part of our clinical research is doing some kind of gut health testing with a partner that we have called Innovative Pet Lab, and I'm really excited. It's another female-founded company. I'm excited to work with them and sort of identify ways. They have kind of a gut health at-home test. So I think that you know, the vision of the brand is very much all the things we talked about. But I think on the gut health side, I love the idea of figuring out how we can get my dog's gut health in check so that I have more time with them. We say more time for moments of joy. But yeah, healthier, more comfortable life, and maybe even more years.
That deep breath, you know.
Yes, yes.
Very nice. Yeah. Anuroop, any closing?
I would actually say is that even though we had such a great conversation on the aspects, the values, and so it feels like there's still a couple of things I do want everyone to know about, right?
Yeah.
And that comes into the play that subscribers, when they subscribe, they get that free gift every month, right? The fact that we talked about that 3% give back, how that's an actual thing on your website, people can actually go see, they can see the organizations you support. So it's not even that, hey, we do something on the back end. It's more so, this is what we do with this. You can actually see who we're supporting. We have them highlighted. We're championing them, right? So I think that aspect of when you really are coming into community, I think I can only tell everyone that please go visit the website to really get a full understanding, right? And anything else you'd like to tell people how they can find you, support you, and so?
Yeah, we have sort of like these little Easter eggs or fun little surprises within our subscriber community. So when you subscribe each month, you get a free added joy item in your order. So when you get your order, you open it, there's something in there that's a surprise. It might be a toy, it might be, you know, a treat. It could be one of our products. It could be a product from another smaller, diverse-owned business, and you get to learn about them. So that's a fun element. The other thing that we probably should talk about more is for our subscribers, their bundle is personalized every month. So when you open up your box each month, it is handwritten with your pet's name.
Oh, wow.
So it's just a fun little element that each month, you know, like, it's like, you know, hey, Luna and Soul are getting their mail each month. And we have some videos where, you know, it's like the dog knows it's for them. You know, it comes with the same colorful tape each month. It's got this item in there and, you know, and it's for them. And it has this, it's just the fun little moment that the box has your dog's name on it.
Super.
And it's a little thing, but it's something that I think kind of creates that connection and that moment for you as the pet owner and the pet. So there's always fun little surprises like that online, and I think it's a way that we can just also stand out. And then it's a different experience, right? So people that order from our website directly have the most connection with us, the most kind of community with us. They're getting all the special touches. They get that free item. So we're just trying to make our online subscribers, who are our most loyal community, most rewarded for that.
Awesome. That is cool. It's fun. It reflects the brand. And so I guess my closing question would be back to the original, what we started with. But so now, if your brand were a playlist, what would be the first 3 songs?
Oh, gosh.
It could be, I don't know, something soulful, upbeat, empowering, fun.
Yeah. Well, early days, we actually had a neon sign in our office that said, "Who run the world?"
Oh, look at that.
So we still have that one, little Beyonce. And I think that was sort of just like that vibe and that feeling we needed when we first launched. Because we were very much like, you know, we're going to go out and we're going to do this and we're going to go run the world. So that, I mean, that's got to be, that's the OG for sure. I think the second one, oh my gosh, this is a tough question. We are all, you know, another element of our kind of founder story is that I'm a first-gen Latina, and it's a big part of, you know, some of my why as well. And also just about continuing the conversation around pet owners looking different and making sure they're not being overlooked. So we listen to a lot of Spanish music in the office. Of course, we're all big Bad Bunny fans. Who's not? So, you know, it'd probably be something from him. I mean, his latest album, I think, has been on repeat for a while. But that would probably speak more to my heritage and sort of some of, you know, and we have a lot of, actually I have a lot of Latina members on the team too. So probably that one. And then, gosh, the third one, oh, Lord, this is a tough one. It's got to be something fun and soulful, right? It's got to be a little, gosh, I guess the first one that comes to mind is like a little wreath, though, like a little RESPECT. I don't know. I don't know. I don't spend enough time celebrating our wins and the things that we've done. We've really, against the odds, have launched a brand and gone out and done like something that I said we were going to go do. And we figured it out. We've launched into Whole Foods and Sprouts and Costco and Walmart and more coming soon. Yeah, I think that I need to like pause every once in a while and be like, I did this.
Put some respect on
Like, I mean, I don't know how, you know, I didn't know how, and I still don't know how we're going to do it, but there's a little sassiness that, you know, is probably well deserved at this point.
Absolutely. No. And we were reminded of that yesterday. One of our mentors or coaches were saying, hey, you got to remind yourself sometimes to give yourself that confidence.
Yeah.
Go back and look at all the things that you've achieved over the years, and when people say that this couldn't even be or it couldn't happen or why would you do that? And look at all of your case studies and the things that you've accomplished. And, you know, put some respect on Bundle and Joy. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining our podcast. And we have a special gift we're going to give to one of Jessica's team members. So this is a brand called Strawberry Avocados. And so they have these Apple Watch bands. And so we want to give...
Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Look at that. All the pink and white. I know. I always joke, you know, like my favorite color was black. It's still black.
There you go.
But my brand is very colorful, so I've embraced a lot of pink in my life. So this is so cute. Thank you.
And along with it comes pets. So this is the dog lovers
Oh,
band. It comes with pets that you can put onto the band.
Oh my gosh, so cute. So cute. Oh my gosh, we got a dog on here. Do they have cats too?
Yes,
maybe that's the next thing. We got another innovation item, right? We got to get the cats. My team is always reminding me, what about the cats?
There you go.
We're not there yet, but you know, hey, evolution. Maybe you'll see some Bundle and Joy cat food in the future. Awesome. Yes. So you can find Bundle and Joy in store at Whole Foods, Sprouts, Costco, and select Walmarts. And then we're also available on Amazon. And if you want to shop and have that really cool subscriber experience, find us at bundlexjoy.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. Check out Bundle and Joy and learn more about Jessica Berger, founder and CEO. And we look forward to catching up with you all soon. Take care.